Oh, that's so much. Well, there was a lot of CGI.
Yeah.
It's like, that is so much money.
It was like 300 million.
If they're saying 250, then yeah. Well, they didn't spend any on advertising. We know that much.
Or dresses.
Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show, your new favorite pop culture YouTube channel where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. And as always, this is a spoiler show, so you have been warned. On today's episode, we are going to have a free-form, subjective conversation about the Little Mermaid movie, the new Disney live-action remake, Little Mermaid, which we just got out of.
Yes.
So we are just comparing. I had a whole thing planned. I had all kinds of notes, and I was going to do
probably better.
a manifesto,
No.
and I was like, let's just talk about it. Trust and believe, if you're a fan of the show, you'll get the manifesto.
There is a manifesto.
The manifesto is coming.
It exists.
He's a human. You're a mermaid.
That doesn't make us enemies.
I was so excited for this movie, and it was good. I liked it.
It was good.
I thought it was good. I do have to say, it is just a movie.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that was like, oh, this has been the better part of my personality for the last 4 months. So if you're like that, but it was good. Did you like it?
I mostly liked it. I have a couple of like general gripes, and one of them is that for too much of the movie, it was way too dark.
It really...
The lighting was very dark. I understand how the ocean works. I know the light doesn't get down there like it's supposed to.
The Little Mermaid fandom.
I don't want to fucking hear about it, okay? This is a fantasy movie.
They're not beholden to physics.
Put some fucking light down there.
Well, there are some... Okay,
Some,
okay.
yeah.
So there's a handful of ways to approach this.
If I'm being honest, that is my only general gripe about the movie, is that when they were underwater, I think it could have been brighter.
Well, Under the Sea was
Under the
very...
Sea is fantastic, but that's also in the shallows.
Mm-hmm.
That takes place mostly in the shallows.
There's two things I want to get out of the way first. Number one, this is a live action remake of a Disney classic, and that has become a talking point of,
yeah.
And when you're in any given industry, there certain things trickle down to the masses. And there's this talking point about the Disney live action remakes being bad and yada yada. And
I mean, mostly.
But there's talk about another one, and it's just a money making blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, you figured out how Hollywood works.
Disney's a business, you
also,
don't say.
And I was watching a review, and they were mentioning Little Mermaid in the same breath that they were mentioning, Pinocchio and Dumbo and stuff. And I was like, oh, those are different.
Well,
not
also,
all Disney classics are on the same.
Yeah. Also, which Pinocchio?
They did the live action on Disney Plus. Months ago. That was not good.
Meaningless.
That's what I mean. I was like, oh, you can't compare these two things because they're not the same.
Also, if you're itching for Pinocchio content, go watch the Guillermo del Toro one on Netflix. That was really good.
Yeah, precisely. And so for me, I am not fundamentally or innately against the concept of these live action remakes, solely because this is the nature of stories.
Sure.
Stories exist. Every story has already been told, and it's kind of when you distill things down to classics, and those stories get told time and time again because they're the classics. Now that we're dealing with cinema, and we're over 100 years, 130 years, give or take, into cinema, it changes the nature of storytelling slightly in that we can strike things onto film, into record. There is a record of it. That version of The Wizard of Oz from 1930s is the standard today.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that, a lot of people will say, well, we've told it, we've done it, there it is, we don't need to keep retelling it. And that I don't agree with always. It depends on the story.
For sure, it depends on the story. And I think with the Disney live action remakes, I think the real question that for the most part, these movies have been failing to answer is, what is the point of remaking it if you're not going to do something different or better.
Or just interesting.
Or
just
even
go in a direction.
even just interesting. And the thing is I feel like this one falls for me solidly towards the top of the crop of live action remakes we've gotten.
It's plopped between review-wise,
Yeah.
it's plopped between Beauty and the Beast and Cinderella.
Sure, yeah. Above Beauty and the Beast,
Mhm.
yeah. And so that's the thing for me is I'm like, yeah, it was great, but there's like more stuff added, which was nice, but it's also like, I mean, just dialogue and framing ripped from the, and I'm just like, it's fine, but like,
But that's what I'm getting
could have been
to.
more.
Having been a good 10 years into this siege of taking the world by storm,
It is a siege.
I have found that my enjoyment of them and their success rate for me is almost directly tied to going in a different direction.
Yeah.
I don't think I care for the shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that it's bad. This actually is the closest. First of all, I would say this is the closest that we've gotten to a shot-for-shot remake.
Sure.
And this is also the most successful that we've had with a shot-to-shot remake. However, without fail, any time that my interest was piqued with this movie was something new.
Yep.
Was something different. It was, her sisters who have, fair warning,
No
a
screen time.
combined total of 3 minutes of screen time. They
Also,
really.
Simone actually wasn't even in that end scene. It was
She
just,
was.
it was only it was only 3 of them. Not the very end at the beach when Triton is talking to them. She is not there.
She was sitting on a rock. You can only see the bottom half of her fin.
Bullshit. I could see 3 of them.
Yeah, it's these 3 right here.
Bullshit.
Who has which one? What are their names? I have their names on lock.
No.
She was there. No, these 3 surface, and it's spectacular. She's apparently wearing this gorgeous crown that you don't see in the movie, but there's like weird, like pearlescent stuff on the side.
That's the thing too. Is like it's sort of a humongous disappointment because there are like it's like an entire hour's worth of extra footage from the animation, and they cut the sisters song and they cut Le Poisson, which is bullshit.
Okay, so I still haven't finished my first point, and I still haven't mentioned my second point, but guess this is the manifesto. You're getting it. When they said they cut Le Poisson, I was like, that makes sense. Having seen the movie and seen both the animation of Sebastian and heard David Diggs' performance, I think it's a crime. I'm like, how did they cut Le Poisson now that... Because this is going to shock a lot of people, but Sebastian for me was a highlight.
The seaweed is always greener in somebody else's lake.
I did not think it was going to work. And let's be honest, it barely does.
Okay.
The stupid eyes.
Okay. Sebastian worked for me so much better than Flounder did. Because also, like, Flounder in the animation is vibrant and yellow and blue. And this Flounder looks like he caught cholera in, like...
He looks like the type of fish he is. It's photoreal.
So do another fish! Pick another fish!
So anyways, the movie was working the most for me with the new stuff. Sure. I liked Eric, his stuff. The Queen really worked for me. Grimsby was actually really great.
Yeah,
a weird MVP.
I really thought we were gonna do Queen Clarice and Joe from The Princess Diaries with the 2 of them, and we didn't. But I feel like if they ever decide to do a sequel, we're doing it.
I think in concept, these stories are timeless, and telling them again every 20 years might be too soon, but definitely every 40 or 50 years.
I was gonna say, girl, it's been almost 40 since this came out.
I just think it's a reality. I think it's a rite of passage.
Well, as long as there's something to add to it, because that's the thing too, is it's like, now that we've had the live action Cinderella, and like now that we've had this, even though I don't think it reaches that peak, we're good. For like a while, like a long while. We don't need another straightforward Disney Little Mermaid movie. Like we are good. That's good.
Sure. And if anything, for me, this, like I said, this sort of confirmed to me that I am not desiring the shot-for-shot
Yeah.
remakes.
Mhm.
I think I prefer when they go off in their own direction.
Yeah.
The second thing that I was going to say about discussing this movie is there are two conversations to be had, especially from our perspective.
Mhm.
There is what the movie could have been. Technically, there's three. It's what could have been, what should have been, and then what we got.
Yeah.
So, based on what we got, I say it was great.
Yeah.
If we're comparing it to what it could have been, that's where it gets dicey.
Well, I think it's dicier with what should have been. I think
Sure.
I think the should have been is the diciest because the could have been is the end credits. It could have looked like those end credits the entire time.
I do think it's funny that we both independently had
Yeah.
that thought, where the end credits start, the animation for the end credits.
And I was like,
Oh, we could have been doing this
Yeah.
the whole time?
because that's the thing for me.
Which they're much more vibrant and heightened.
Which that's to go back to my like overall gripe. I think the thing about this movie that annoyed me the most is that it did pull a lot of DNA from the live action Lion King, which was not the right direction. You know what I mean? And so it's like I think it should have been more fantastical.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, the under the sea moment was like really good.
Oh, it
'Cause
was
I leaned-
fantastic.
I leaned
I
over-
like went to clap. Like,
I leaned over to Rachel and I was like, okay, but like just with putting my marine biologist hat on for a minute, like none of those animals move that fast. Like they move so slow.
I love there's an entire section of like, I guess clams.
Yeah, where they turn into like little mushrooms.
They
almost.
look like mushrooms, and they're like,
Yeah.
and then this giant Ariel's watching them from behind.
Yeah, I guess it did look like clamshells because I was like, well, it could be, but sand dollars just have like little.
Maybe it was
No,
I don't know.
Sand dollars don't have like a muscle; they just have like little feet.
But this is almost part of the issue, is because I know
Yeah.
that there was a scientific like
Yeah, and I don't
anatomy
need-
to
yeah,
every single
no,
creature
and I
there,
don't need that.
and I could have just abstract
Yeah.
just the concept of a sea creature.
Yeah,
I want to say before we continue, I want to say that I went into this movie a Halle Bailey
Oh, yeah.
fan. I am leaving the movie a Halle Bailey fan. She is phenomenal.
Yeah.
She is Ariel. I think
So good.
that this movie soars
Yeah.
on her alone. Like her
also-
performance,
yeah.
like, and her chemistry with Jonah.
Oh, so cute. So cute.
I really bought into,
He's adorable.
and that's part of my thing where I was like, ooh, I wish I could be watching a coming of age,
Yeah.
like the novel, because we open up with a Hans Christian Andersen quote,
We do.
which was bold because it's earned. It's earned.
It's fine.
It's the for a mermaid has no tears and thus suffers all the
greater
more.
or something.
Yeah. It's the places where I know it was lifted directly from the animation that, because you immediately compare, and the animation just almost like 9 times out of 10, the animation just had more flair.
And then when they should be pulling a literal shot for shot of the animation when she comes out of the water in that periwinkle dress and she didn't do it. She's just like there on the steps in the same dress. I can't.
Okay. In that
There's
place.
one costume change.
Oh, I agree. I've had a roller coaster with this movie the entire time, and I remember seeing the paparazzi stills from like filming,
Mhm.
and I was underwhelmed
Yeah.
by the costuming. I will say, having seen it, it's all beautiful.
It's
It's
cute.
Colleen Atwood.
It's
they're
fine.
they're
Yeah.
beautiful, but I did find the costuming a tad uninspired. Basically, everybody's just in like white or pale,
Yeah.
like, and there's a lot of
Except for
cotton.
Vanessa.
There's a lot of cotton and linen, which
That's fine. It's like
works-
a tropical island.
it
Yeah.
works there, but it takes us to a realism place that I think does the movie a
Again,
disservice.
yeah. Mhm.
I truly think that the photo real stuff, Disney needs to get that out of their mind.
Yeah.
I think that they ultimately, especially with Sebastian, we ended up in a decent spot.
Sebastian's fine. And Scuttle looked okay too. I liked that quite a bit, but I can't with Flounder. Flounder was a real miss for me. Jacob Tremblay, adorable. I loved the voice work of it, but it just did not.
He was not a miss
for
me, but he was not a hit. I was going to say, I'm actually astonished how much I liked all three of them.
Yeah.
I'm shocked how much I liked Awkwafina.
In the Kiss the Girls when they're on the oar and it keeps going underwater.
It was so... But there you go. There. The handful of times... when they went the photo real angle, the handful of times that they utilized it is where it was just so funny to me. Because there's just this, like, fish.
Yeah.
With, like, a fish face.
Well, and, like, Scuttle is, like, holding him so he doesn't fall off the oar.
But I'm even talking about under the water.
Yeah.
Like, there's just this weird fish that's always flanking Ariel.
It's bizarre.
And it kind of made me laugh. And he does still have the little bang. It's so funny. It's so cute. I kind of can't believe so much of that stuff worked so well.
Yeah. Also, I was really worried. My favorite part of The Little Mermaid is in Kiss the Girl when they're singing and it's like reaching the crescendo and then these just like couple little animals go, wow, wow.
They did.
And they did it. No, they did it.
Yeah.
There was one and I was so worried they weren't going to, but it was in there and I like cheered.
There was Kiss the Girl actually was one of the better.
It was good.
It was
very
one of
sweet.
the highlights. And
Eric is very easily taken under by people whispering in his ear.
I mean, he's got it tight. But because we actually laughed a lot when Sebastian appeared under that hat.
Oh my god!
And that's the thing is it's just that I guess when we one of the only things I said to you off camera is when we left the movie I was like the fact that it was as good as it was almost makes me madder because I'm like so they could have done it if they hadn't played it safe. And I still think that all things considered, this is probably the best case scenario.
Well, with
certainly
Rob,
in the
Rob
top
Marshall for sure.
Yeah, certainly. Because also, if you're like a fan of ours, you'll know that that's been our big thing is the Rob Marshall.
And there was a great deal of movement. I actually was like, I was pretty satisfied with it. I have 2 song gripes. I can't even speak about Scuttlebutt. I don't even want to. It was so stupid and not great.
Have you not heard that Scuttlebutt? No, the gossip, the buzz.
I kind of liked it.
Okay, but it is so out of pocket with it. It does not. It's so Lin-Manuel Miranda. It does not match any of the rest of the music. It took me right out of the whole thing.
Okay, so I listened to the soundtrack, so I was familiar with both it and Wild Uncharted Waters. I specifically didn't listen to her song on Land because I wanted something for the movie.
Sure.
And I preferred listening because I was more familiar with it, so it didn't feel like it was like it came out of nowhere.
It's like the Taylor Swift song from Cats. Where it's like
it's not that bad for me.
It's like whoa.
The thing about Scuttlebutt is if it's not there, then there's just no songs from the entire back half of the movie.
That's fair.
It like kind of because there's
I might have preferred that.
Okay, Scuttlebutt is mercifully short.
It is pretty short, yeah.
And I think it's there for the kids because I remember being a kid and thinking Scuttle was like the height of comedy.
Yeah.
Like when he's looking through the
wrong end of the telescope,
and then she's like right there, and he's like, "Whoa, what a swim!"
Yeah.
That totally, and that's where Awkwafina worked for me. She does not work for a lot of people, and I think it just has to do with people not really.
Well, she did some appropriate things at the beginning of her career.
That's true. For me, she was doing. It was close enough to the original without being a pale imitation, and that's where like she was doing a similar thing because I
feel the same about Melissa McCarthy in this movie. Poor Unfortunate Souls was a fucking showstopper, but my other song
but now we've said it, are we gonna
well, I'm going to, but my other song gripe is not even like a huge gripe because it was fine, but like I didn't love Wild Uncharted Waters.
Why?
I don't know. I know I didn't love it, but I can't pinpoint why. And it's not necessarily him because Jonah Hauer-King was like so cute the whole time, adorable. I loved every part of it, but there was maybe it was giving me Barb and Star.
Seagulls in the sand, can you hear my prayer?
Okay.
It was giving me Barb and Star a little. But again, I don't really know like what exactly it was about it that wasn't totally working for me. But I mean, it's fine. I liked it way better than Scuttlebutt.
I think it could be as similar as you just weren't, because I didn't like it the first time I listened to it.
Okay, maybe, yeah.
By like the 5th time, and actually, they very smartly put the melody. Her melody is interpolated into it, but the do do do.
Oh, is it later? Yeah.
Every time they show him, the orchestra swells with that.
Yeah, I will say, because we also talked about it on the live that we did last weekend. It does not touch Evermore for me. I think Evermore from Beauty and the Beast is better. Maybe I just like Dan Stevens' voice more.
I'm gonna fight for Wild and Charted Waters. I think it needs.
I didn't hate it. It just something didn't fully resonate.
I could have watched 30 more minutes of them.
Oh, for sure.
Their courtship.
You mentioned their chemistry, and it was darling. And I was gonna say, when she can't speak, but she is like just wide-eyed wonder at like literally everything, and they are like, she's barely like communicating back to him in any like with nods or shakes of her head or anything, but he's just so into her, and it's so cute and so sweet.
And I mean, I think that's just real, because I told you about this. But
They're
there's
like friends now.
Well, there's like footage from the like UK premiere, I think, and he was on the carpet before her, and like when she walks on the carpet, he like bolts to her, like jumps over something to go see her.
I believe she's captivating in real life.
I know that she is.
Well, I did. This is just a snarky comment. This is not the way I actually feel, but I did lean over to Rachel and I was like, well, of course he likes her. All she's doing is just being quiet and letting him talk about himself for hours.
I mean,
what all men
it
like.
works like that kind of, but no, there was just something. There's something about her physicality.
Yeah,
like she just. I could have known nothing about this movie that it even existed, and if you showed me a frame, I'd be like, Ariel.
Yeah.
Like, just the way that she smiles and rolls her eyes, and like, just her posture, the way she holds, like when she does that frill with the sand and under the sea, like your eye goes right to her, and that is a cluttered shot.
It is.
Like,
also, speaking of sand, when they went into like the little village and they were like dancing, and these people
they threw sand in the air,
throwing sand in the air, and I was like, you guys,
tell me you're not actually from a beach town without.
It also, like, right after she saved him and brought him up, and she brushed the like wound, and I was like, she's getting sand all in that head wound.
We didn't have enough Max. We needed more Max.
More puppy dog for sure, yeah.
There is a scene. I had heard about it, but it's from the shipwreck. Also, really, I don't know.
The shipwreck was fantastic.
But I'm liking it more the more I'm talking about it, and it's going back to that thing where I'm like, it was so close to being amazing.
Yeah.
But it just stays here.
And I'll say something too, where before we left to go see it, you were like, I've seen a couple of reviews that said soundstage. And I will say that the scenes where, although it's dicey because obviously that shipwreck took place on a soundstage because it had to be like a water stage or whatever, but it's like there are certain scenes that really felt like a soundstage in a bad way. And then the rest of the scenes were either like in a real place or felt like a soundstage in a good way. But it was just like every once in a while you get into a scene where you're like, this is definitely doesn't actually have the scope they're trying to make me believe it does.
But given that is my biggest complaint with Rob Marshall, I didn't have a lot of it for this. He got our note about scope and scale.
Yeah.
There's lots of sweeping shots of because I mean, even the castle, like, and it's a very striking looking castle, but it is so grounded in reality.
The human castle?
Yeah.
Okay. We don't need to talk about the underwater castle.
About the underwater. That's some bullshit. I'm furious.
It is bullshit.
It's just coral. Like, but not like like it's just rocks. They're just in rocks. And I don't know, I was promised golden phalluses. God damn it.
I had that clamshell with the penis castle.
I just like, I don't know and that's one of the places where it's like the mermaids were so cool, and I was like, more like I truly didn't think I was gonna come out of this thinking we just didn't get enough mermaids, and
we didn't really get enough mermaids. Also, I was very let down by a misunderstanding that I had from our live last week. I thought there was a hot merman musical number,
No.
and there's just like 3
handful of hot mermen.
at the end of the movie,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, oh.
Also, if we're nitpicking, both times that Triton was above water,
Mhm.
he was not high enough.
Well, okay, accurate. And also, something else I said to Rachel is that when he's up the first time and she's like, oh, that was kind of a jump scare. And I was like, well, underwater, all his hair is digital, even the beard.
Mhm.
And so when you get up and it's just a wet wig on Javier Bardem's face, it's very upsetting.
But no, I'm just like it's something, funnily enough, Rob Marshall did in Pirates of the Caribbean Stranger Tides that I liked so much, is all of the mermaids in Stranger Tides, which you still haven't seen. Maybe we should watch it. Let us know if you want us to watch it.
Don't you? Probably, it's whatever.
They all of the
Like-
mermaids come out to like here.
Okay.
And it looks unnatural. Like
Yeah.
they come out of the water too high.
Sure.
And I kind of wish there was a little bit more.
Well, he does too. He comes tits out of the water in the animated.
Oh yeah,
Triton.
he rides a fountain up
Yeah.
onto the
And I do, yeah, I mean,
dresses. That's so the blue dress that she's wearing
It's
is
cute.
actually darling.
it's cute.
It's flat. It's all the same
Yeah.
color, the same material. Because she even has a corset,
Yeah.
and I was like, just make it black.
Who did?
Just keep the Colleen Atwood.
No, but who
No.
did the costumes for Beauty and the Beast?
Fuck if I know. They weren't good. That
Well,
person's
because I
bad.
just was like, Rob Marshall, did you not just like, can't you just slap some embroidery on some of this shit like you did in Beauty and the Beast?
It was embroidered in the
Well,
same color as all the rest of
Then
it.
that's not.
Because even Vanessa's dress, like when we see
the close
like a close up, there's like beading and stuff on it that you would. It's
Yeah.
actually Vanessa's dress is actually the best one in the entire movie.
Well, it's purple.
That's how you know she's evil.
And well, she also has black nails, black long almond shaped nails, or like Yeah.
Jessica Alexander.
she was pretty good.
Again, less than 5 minutes of screen time.
It's unfortunate.
So
I mean,
good.
so does Vanessa in the animated.
Sure, but she just is so good, especially when the gig is up
Yeah.
and she's channeling
Oh
Ursula.
my god, yeah.
Because this and
I
Jessica.
hope that girl gets work off.
I hope
this,
she does
yeah.
too. She is a riot on the red carpet.
Did you bring a little bit of yourself to the building?
I mean, I'm not quite as crazy as her, girl. She's pretty intense. But yeah, I quite often play like pretty like demonic, unhinged women, and it's nice when there's a place for that in Disney. And
She's
Really?
got one of those like trash London accents.
That's right, you said.
She's real baudy.
I love it.
And I like when she's channeling Melissa McCarthy's Ursula.
Yeah.
It like, and that part because I was a little surprised and impressed how much of the climax is shot for shot in a
Okay.
good way.
That is 100% accurate. When they actually, because you literally were like, oh, thank God. I was worried they were gonna puss out like in the other,
Like Aladdin.
in Aladdin, and then Ursula gets huge.
She gets big.
It is spooky. She brings all the ships up.
She changes,
Her
like her
face-
face gets ridges, like,
Super cool.
and they're on the
amazing.
crown. Like they
Yeah.
do. I was like, oh, we're doing all
They
of it.
did it, and I just
But
was
but
very
that's an
happy.
action scene.
Yeah.
And the shot for shot works better with action than because when you're trying I said this on our live stream, but I was like, live action is a different medium from animation.
Yeah.
Like animation, because you're not saddled to physics.
In reality.
You can do all these like things that when you try to recreate that with live action, it doesn't really work. And so it's stuff like that. Like I fully appreciate that like most of or many of Sebastian and Scuttle's jokes in this were new.
Yeah.
A lot of their banter was like new banter and stuff.
I was gonna say too, because to what you were just saying, where like the action scenes work really well as a shot for shot, and I think the reason why sometimes, and I didn't really feel it in this, just maybe because they had such sweet chemistry, the two of them. I do have issues when they do like direct dialogue pulls in some of these things, is because it goes back to my Twilight conundrum, where it's like it's one thing to read about fake people doing this, it is quite another to and to that point, it's one thing to watch two drawn
Mhm.
characters say things to each other as opposed to two human people looking at each other and saying the absolute dumbest shit you've ever heard in your life. And that this movie did not fall into that, but that can be an issue.
It's because motivations get wafer thin
Yeah.
in these animated. It's a place where Cinderella's sword is that they used the animated version as a suggestion
like
rather than a
jumping-off
rule.
point. Yeah.
And so the whole like Ariel King Triton like father teenage daughter dynamic I think worked better in animation because it what you're watching is a dynamic. What you're watching is a cliche. What you're watching is a trope sort
it's
of
not
unfold.
Two human people
Watching two people try to actually make
having
that
the dumbest argument you've ever heard. It's like she wants to go abroad for her freshman year of college. Like, get over it.
I will give the movie credit because they really did try to act like this is one of the more successful
like broadening the motivations.
Well, yeah, like adding in details to make to tighten the narrative. This is an example of that working well.
Well, like when
largely.
the sisters were cleaning up the shipwreck, that
complaining
was
about the
interesting.
humans,
Yeah,
how they
I get it.
Because it's instead of the sisters doing their makeup, which I mean, reductive, but I kind of wanted to see it. I wanted to see them in their little like coral mirrors.
Yeah.
With
I also Ursula didn't do it either, and I always loved when she like squished that bug and used it like lipstick.
She does put on lipstick.
She does put on lipstick.
And she does eat a shrimp.
Like a little shrimp. I also these are just like it's not even a real complaint, but it's like I always was so obsessed with the bed that Ariel has in the castle when she like flops down and it's like all around her. And she just like fell asleep on the window bench, like the window seat. And I was like, I guess.
It's so cozy, like squishy cozy.
Yeah, the bed, yeah.
And so I wanted to finish with the sisters scene. So the scene the sisters get is they're like cleaning up the shipwreck after, because it was his birthday and his like ship goes down, obviously. And so the sisters they're cleaning it up and it's like wrecked some of the coral and stuff. And they're talking about how the humans don't respect the ocean. And like, I like
accurate.
Yeah, no, I liked all that stuff. And even with like the queen, she was one of the things that I really liked that they added.
Great.
Where she was like, because she was talking about them like they were ancient gods. She was like, the sea, we don't mess with the sea gods.
Yeah.
Like, they're mad, you know? And so that kind of stuff I thought was cool. I do think, because Carlotta was in it, although her name wasn't Carlotta. It was something else.
Oh, the
maid?
Yeah, Lashana.
Okay. And I'm a little disappointed that she was in it to do nothing with her. And I do think it is unforgivable to not have the dinner scene and the pink gown. The pink, like, proper gown.
Because I do like the pink dress she wears at the end, but, like...
It was fine.
Also, the ring is hideous.
You know what's so funny? It's face blindness for me. I can't, rings don't... Because I almost showed it to you last week, being like, look, they finally did a good one.
No.
And...
No, they did not.
I thought it was good. I liked it.
It's easily marketable, and I guess I see and appreciate game, recognize game, whatever, but, like, no, it's a no for me. No.
Oh, well, I remember that I didn't actually finish explaining the scene with Max, because the shipwreck scene is really cool.
Oh, yes.
And there's the scene where Max is, like, caught in the fire, and Eric, like, goes to rescue him. And
that's how you know he's a good guy.
And he, like, I mean, this is a kid's movie.
Yeah.
He, like, throws him into the water, and Max is, like, doggy paddling. And they cut to underwater, and Ariel goes, and she's just holding his tummy
she just,
up.
like, pushes him a little bit faster.
So that he can get to the boat,
Yeah.
and, like, the audience gasped.
It was so cute.
It was excuse me. It was very sweet.
Super sweet.
And yeah, I could, because we only see him, like, one more time.
Yeah.
When she's,
he's,
when
like,
they're,
playing
going
fetch.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, in all honesty, like I said, it's actually pretty good. And if you're like the average, you know, run-of-the-mill person that's just going to go see a movie, it's great.
Also, sorry that he just called you a run-of-the-mill person.
A normal, like a
No,
normal,
I
I am the abnormal one. Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat?
It is pretty neat.
Wouldn't you think that my collection's complete?
No,
and
I
yet
know that it's not. I know that it's not.
I'm the weird one here. No,
I'm a weirdo. Have you ever seen me without my mermaid doll?
That's weird.
Put Jughead's face over top of me.
No, I mean a normal person
Yeah. No, I know. I was
is
just
going to
being a
go
dick.
into the theater, have their tits blown clean off.
What was his freaking name in Barb and Star?
I don't remember.
I can't remember. It's driving me nuts.
That director should have done this.
God, imagine! I mean, unbelievable. Well, it was Jamie Dornan and his name Edgar. Yeah, that's what he was giving me.
We
Edgar.
are who we are, Edgar.
That's what it was giving me. I was pleasantly surprised.
We talked a little bit about Melissa McCarthy, and we didn't fully finish.
She was great.
You were like hard. I guess Rachel was the
wasn't
most
against it.
against it, but
I still think it should have been a drag queen.
oh, of course.
But she did great, and I was right when we talked about it last week. Her performance was the nuance, the like little glances she did to the side and stuff. It was like she did
And she
great.
wasn't. She paid tribute to Pat Carroll,
Yeah.
or she paid homage without mimicking it.
Mhm.
She was not doing.
My only actual Melissa McCarthy gripe is not even her fault. She didn't get to call them poopsies when they exploded, and I was very upset about that. She should have called them poopsies.
Because I said during our live stream,
The eels.
Yeah, I hated that when their heads came above water.
They are disgusting. Eels are disgusting.
I was fine with Flounder, with his little head, his tiny head coming.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
because he looks like Tiny Tim. He looks like Tiny Tim the fish.
But as played by Robin the Frog. Really, like I just.
But like eels are already disgusting, and then you have like a completely plasticky digital eel, and then you're putting its face above water, which they don't do.
No, I was gonna say I think that's one of the things because it's like I think like a great white shark is the only fish. Are they fish? They're not fish.
Yes,
Regardless,
they are fish.
a great white shark is the only one that will put its head above water. Like
To like jump.
yeah, other animals.
Whales do, but
They're mammals.
Mammals.
And so when the eels did it, I was like, ah, they're
No,
coming.
it's
Like
not.
it was a real jump scare.
So
but
I used to. This will be quick. I used to live in St. Thomas, and I went snorkeling a ton in like coral reefs and stuff. And every once in a while, there would be an eel, and they're not aggressive. They just are like in their little hidey holes or whatever. But I would see one and be like, whoop, and I would just like swim right back up. And absolutely not. I think eels are horrific.
my favorite of Melissa McCarthy, not my favorite, but it's the easiest for me to point to,
Mhm.
is her line reading of "The life's full of tough choices, isn't it?"
Life's full of tough choices, isn't it?
Because Ursula in the animation is real cartoony, in your face,
Yeah.
like tease, like
and
mocking
she's
her.
like bodier too.
Yeah, like well, I don't know. I
She
mean,
did it
Melissa
once, but-
Shinnies a couple times, but I prefer the what's the word? It's like a scam, like because Ursula's trying to like
Sure.
she's like a huckster. She's
Like a
trying to
con
like
man.
yeah, like a con. And the way that because Ariel's here and the way Ursula's like life's full of tough choices and the way she says isn't it? She's like
Yeah.
you can tell she's looking at Ariel.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
No, it was super good. And I also like I was like, this seems like a cush job because all she's doing is just like flailing all around. And like
She loved it.
I was just like, that's
Because the show was, if we know one thing about Rob Marshall, he tries to use as much real as possible. So the show was real. And that giant shell she's in,
Oh, was it?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
it was like a big, like 60-foot giant
Oh
clam
shit.
shell.
Okay.
And
She's just lolling all around it.
and they used so much of that space and her octopusness.
Yeah.
Like there's a scene where she's like weird the whole scene, and then you realize it's because she's on the ceiling.
Yeah.
Just like and the glowing suction cup.
Very
I love
cool.
that. And actually, one of the loud. I actually laughed a good like 15 times.
Yeah,
in
I
this.
laughed a lot.
One of the best laughs I got was the added joke when she couldn't find the potion.
Oh yeah. Oh, there it is. Very good.
So yeah, I guess I honestly could keep going. I would probably need to see it again and keep like a list, but I think in the grand scheme of things, they played it very safe.
Mhm.
I think that was for the best. I think it was very smart, especially when you consider
Well, it's smart if they want to make $1 billion.
and for Hallie's sake, because I think Disney kind of hung Emma Watson out to dry.
Oh.
I don't think that her vocals and there's a lot of stuff that I don't think worked with Beauty and the Beast, and I think that they learned from that.
Yeah.
And I think that in order, because as stupid as this is, it was so controversial, it's so bold to cast her in this role as it is. They didn't give the audience anything else
to pick on. Yeah.
Like they played everything else as safe as
bad.
possible.
We told you it was going to be bad, and it was bad. And
because if they went high fantasy with this,
imagine though,
and
we would have liked it.
Oh my god! I guess this is kind of the last thing I'll say. That there was a lot of people, and the fandom is very vocal and very mobilized and good for you. I see you. Props, all of that stuff. But there's a lot of things that they don't, because like I saw a lot of comments about how are you going to make a live action movie and then complain that it looks real? And I'm like, well, I'm not complaining that it looks real. I'm complaining that it's very naturalistic.
Yeah.
Like that's a style choice. That's not a
live action and naturalism are like two separate things. Like I'm not watching a nature documentary.
And
which is what The Lion King felt like.
And it's like you said, that the handful of times that they pivoted away from that is where it really. I also loved her riding the turtles.
Yes,
because we just see her like this, and you're like, "What is happening?"
And those turtles were in choreography.
It was good.
Yeah,
it was good. I would give it a solid B+. B+. So I'll see it again. There's rumblings that Disney was very pleased with it, and if it opens even remotely well, that they're going to consider another one,
like the Little Mermaid. Oh, all right.
Which I would, in spite of the straight-to-video releases from the 90s, I would kind of love that, because there's so much you can do with ocean lore.
For sure.
And the way this ends, it ends with them going on an adventure. So I don't know specifically what I think they should do, but it's
they could do something.
And there were parts of, and that's where I kind of liked it the most. There are parts of this movie that feel kind of more like an adventure, like a Pirates of the Caribbean type movie.
Yeah.
I think this movie's going to get pegged as a girl movie, and it's the romance is actually really good and very focused.
Yeah.
So yeah, all in all, I'm happy.
Thumbs up.
Happy.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, please like and subscribe. Go ahead and comment. Any interaction apparently does gangbusters. Thumbs up does a lot. Apparently, you really are supposed to be ringing that bell. I have never in my life rang the bell, but apparently it's like a super quadruple double or whatever, and you'll get notifications when we post videos.
Fuck me.
So
yeah, ring the bell.
And all comments, even bad comments, are good. Don't leave us bad comments. But if you do, thanks. So check out our other things. Patreon. We have a Patreon. We have a Cash App and a Venmo if you want to tip us. If you're sitting here thinking, oh, really? If it's so good, why don't you make a Little Mermaid movie? Fucking bet. I'm trying. So give me some money and I'll do it. I wrote a book. Yeah. It's called Fairy Tale. It's about fairy tales.
There's a mermaid in it.
There is a Little Mermaid. A quite literal Little Mermaid in this book. And she swims with glowing jellyfish.
Yeah. Give us our money. We need to make a movie.
And buy wine.
Yeah, and buy wine. Okay.
Stick a fork in me. I'm
Bye.
done. Stick a dingle hopper in me.
Come on.